Hello and welcome to today's episode of History Makers. In this episode, we will take a closer look at the life of one of the most famous figures in the history of the world, Nelson Mandela. Through his own words in his autobiography Long Walk to Freedom, we will uncover the journey of this remarkable man who fought for justice, equality, and freedom in South Africa. His story is one of courage, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to the idea that all people deserve to live in a free, fair, and peaceful world. Early life, the beginning of a journey. Nelson Mandela was born on 18th July 1918 in a small village called Mvezo, located in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. His birth name was Rolihlahla Mandela, which means pulling the branch of a tree or troublemaker. His early life was shaped by the customs and traditions of the Xhosa people, a group from South Africa's Eastern Cape. Mandela was part of the Thembu royal family, though he wasn't raised as a prince. He describes how, at a young age, his father, who was a tribal chief, passed away. This loss had a big impact on him. His mother took him to live in the village of Kunnu with her. It was in Kunnu that Mandela spent his childhood, where he attended a local missionary school. As a boy, he wasn't exposed to much of the racial injustice that he would later fight against, but the seeds of his passion for justice began to sprout here. As Mandela grew, he noticed the differences between the way black people and white people lived in South Africa. These early experiences would stay with him and fuel his later activism. Education, the foundation of a leader. Mandela was determined to get an education, despite the obstacles in his way. In his autobiography, he talks about how he was inspired by the elders in his village and how education became his key to unlocking new opportunities. His journey took him to the University of Fort Hare, a prestigious school for Black Africans in South Africa. This is where Mandela had his first taste of political activism. He didn't just go to school for knowledge, he started to challenge the system. He began to realize how deeply rooted racism and segregation were in South Africa. At university, he got involved in student politics, and this led to a series of events that would shape his life forever. He was even expelled for protesting against the school's rules, but this did not stop him. Mandela continued his studies in Johannesburg, where he trained as a lawyer. Entering politics, the birth of an activist. Mandela's decision to become a lawyer in Johannesburg marked a turning point in his life. In 1944, he became one of the founding members of the African National Congress Youth League, a political group that aimed to fight for the rights of black South Africans. The group was committed to ending the apartheid system, a policy of racial segregation that kept white South Africans in power while oppressing black South Africans. In his autobiography, Mandela writes about how apartheid laws were designed to keep black people from having equal rights. The laws made it almost impossible for black people to live with dignity. But Mandela and his colleagues in the ANC began to organize protests and boycotts to demand change. He talks about how they used peaceful means, like strikes and marches, to make their voices heard. It was during this time that Mandela began to understand the power of unity. He realized that the only way to bring down the system of apartheid was for people of all races to come together and stand up for justice. The struggle, the years of resistance. By 1950, Mandela was deeply involved in the struggle against apartheid. He was part of the Defiance Campaign, a nationwide effort to oppose apartheid laws by defying them openly. He began to make a name for himself as a courageous leader. However, as the resistance grew stronger, so did the government's determination to crush it. In Long Walk to Freedom, Mandela details how the government began to target activists, including himself. In 1961, after years of peaceful protests, he and other leaders of the ANC decided that they had no choice but to take up arms and form an armed resistance group called Umkhonto we Sizwe. The decision to use violence was not one that Mandela took lightly, but he felt it was necessary to fight back against the brutal system that had denied black South Africans their basic human rights. In 1962, Mandela was arrested for leaving the country without permission and for inciting workers to strike. This was the beginning of a long period of imprisonment that would last for 27 years. Imprisonment, the long walk to freedom. Mandela's imprisonment is one of the most well-known chapters in his life. He was sentenced to life in prison for his role in the struggle against apartheid. He spent most of his time on Robben Island, a notorious prison where political prisoners were isolated and forced to endure harsh conditions. Mandela recounts how, despite the extreme hardship, he and his fellow prisoners remained resolute in their belief that their cause was just. In his book, he talks about the physical and emotional toll of being imprisoned. Yet, Mandela remained hopeful. He realized that his fight was not just about him, it was about the future of his country. His story of resilience and hope became an inspiration to millions of people, both in South Africa and around the world. While in prison, Mandela also began to think about the kind of South Africa he wanted to build after apartheid was gone. He wanted a peaceful nation where all races could live together in harmony and where justice and equality were guaranteed for everyone. The release and the end of apartheid. After 27 long years, Nelson Mandela was finally released from prison on 11th February 1990. His release marked the beginning of the end of apartheid in South Africa. Mandela had become a symbol of resistance and hope, not just for South Africans, but for oppressed people all over the world. In his autobiography, Mandela writes about the emotions he felt the day he walked out of prison. It was a moment of triumph, but also one of great responsibility. He knew that the work was far from over. In the years that followed, Mandela worked tirelessly to negotiate with the apartheid government to ensure a peaceful transition to a democratic South Africa. In 1994, South Africa held its first democratic elections, where people of all races could vote. Mandela was elected as the country's first black president. His leadership was characterized by his commitment to forgiveness, reconciliation, and nation building. Legacy, a legacy of peace and hope. Nelson Mandela's life and legacy continue to inspire people around the world. Through his leadership, his message of peace, forgiveness, and equality became a guiding light for many nations struggling with division and injustice. Long Walk to Freedom is not just an autobiography, it is a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome even the greatest challenges. Mandela's life reminds us that even in the darkest times, there is always hope for a better future. His story teaches us that courage doesn't mean being free from fear, but facing it and continuing to fight for what is right. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Nelson Mandela. His story is one of resilience, hope, and the unbreakable will to fight for a better world. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of this incredible man and the impact he had on the world. If you haven't already, we highly recommend reading his autobiography Long Walk to Freedom, a powerful account of one man's struggle to bring justice to his people. Until next time, stay inspired and keep walking the path toward freedom and equality.